It's time for Sportsball.
So we like to start with our Cleveland sports here. So we'll start with the Browns. The only update we have from them, even though they lost their defensive coordinator, is that Myles Garrett was spotted at the Olympics with his girlfriend, Chloe Kim, who is chasing snowboarding gold. The Guardians, Chase DeLauter is the Guardians player to watch in 2026. He actually played his first game against the Tigers in the playoffs last year, and he did pretty good. But they're saying that he is the Guardians player to watch this year. The Cavs have won 5 in a row and 10 of their last 11. Harden went 1 of 4 from the floor and 10 of 12 on foul shots. I just thought that was a wild stat the other day.
That's pretty mixed.
In his home debut, and speaking of which, Sam Merrill went off against the Wizards. He had 26 points in the first half, making all 9 of his shots from the field, including 7 3-pointers. And it was the third time in franchise history a player has been perfect when making 9 or more shots in the first half.
Pretty good.
And Harden actually even mentioned that he was glad that he could just be a support player, and Merrill had a hell of a game.
Yeah, the whole James Harden trade seems to be working out so far.
Yeah, he's a regular season hero, man.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's my whole thing is, I just want to see when they make the playoffs if he shows up and then doesn't, try to sink the team immediately after and say it's their fault like he's done for the previous 4 teams he's played for. So
right,
that's the big thing. So
the other guys they traded for, I mean, they're still bench guys, but they're still
Ellis came in and had a great game the other
doing
day.
Their job.
Yeah. Ellis actually shot a couple of threes the other day, and they brought him in to play defense. So that was nice.
Yep.
Oh, they came back in the fourth quarter against the Nuggets, and Harden was clutch in that game.
Yep.
So he actually, like you said, he had an okay game at home against the Wizards. Like I said, 10 of 12 free throw shooting, which I personally don't understand how pros miss free throws, but
ask Shaq.
Shaq was there to stand underneath the hoop and break it.
Yeah.
So, but so he did have a really good game against the Nuggets, and he's been playing defense. So that was a knock. Like, a lot of people were saying when they traded for him and stuff like that, that it wasn't going to be any different from Garland, but he's actually been playing defense. So it's been a good surprise as well. So go Cavs, who are not making up any ground at all in the NBA. The Detroit, Boston, and the Knicks have all won either 8 out of their last 10 or 7 out of the last 10 too, and are giving up no ground.
Yeah.
So the Cavs are still in 4th place in the East. Over in the West, the Thunder are still tanking. Not terribly, but they're only 3.5 games above the Spurs now. But the Nuggets have dropped back to 7 games. So whereas I believe a week ago when we talked about this, they were both 5 games back, the Spurs have moved up and the Nuggets have actually moved back.
Was it Nuggets? That's James Harden's first home game.
His first game for the Cavs was against Denver in Denver.
Okay, that's what I'm.
And then he came home and they played the Wizards,
right,
and that was the
right.
first home game.
Yep.
So. Over in the NFL, Seattle won the Super Bowl. Whoop-de-doo. For 3 quarters, that was a super defensive game that was very boring. I personally think that Jason Myers should have won MVP. When you kick, 5 field goals or whatever it was, and
I agree, 2
extra points, and you're perfect. And that was the majority of the points that were scored. He could have beat New England just in the amount of field goals that he kicked. So they gave it to Kenneth Walker. He did have a good game. He had almost 100 yards rushing in the first half, which was the majority of offense for either team, actually. So kudos to him. New England didn't even score a point to the 4th quarter. The halftime show was super controversial. Everyone decided that if you didn't love it, that you're a racist. And that's an interesting take, in my opinion. I didn't watch the other one either. The white supremacy halftime show or whatever the freak you want to call MAGA's halftime show. It's just amazing that we live in this divisive of a country and a world right now to where, a halftime show is splitting the country. the halftime show hasn't been this big of a deal since the nip slip.
I remember watching that one live.
The wardrobe malfunction,
Yeah.
that was, destroyed the youth of our country.
Right.
Personally, I can go all the way back into the 80s, and, they didn't even have major people do halftime shows back in the 80s and stuff like that. It wasn't until, I want to say like 92 or 93 when Michael Jackson did a halftime show.
Right.
That was the first big star to do a halftime show. And the only one that I can actually remember, seriously, like the only halftime show I can actually remember is the one that Prince did.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
He didn't sing that song that we mentioned last week. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it, why everybody's so upset about it. I don't, I don't listen to Bad Bunny's music, but I haven't listened to music from any of the halftime performers in the last 20 years either. So I don't care about who does the halftime show. Till Tool does one, I don't really care. So
good luck.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was just interesting to me. The one story that came out of the NFL this week that I actually did follow quite a bit was the arresting of James Pearce. He was arrested for 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, along with 1 count of aggravated stalking and fleeing and eluding police with lights and sirens. So he was in jail and he got out like a $20,000 bond or something like that. And the way they worded this, I thought it was way worse than what it actually was. I'm not playing down the fact that the guy did some weird, creepy things, but like, I thought it was way worse. When they said 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, I thought like he tried to murder his girlfriend, who plays for the WNBA, by the way. So what had happened was he was texting her from a fake phone. Because she blocked his number. They broke up and he's been aggressive.
Like a burner phone or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, he got somebody else's phone or a burner phone or whatever, and he was texting her from that because she blocked his phone number. So he went to her house and she left, and she was actually like trying to get away from him, and she ran a red light and she wrecked her car. And he was following her in his car. So he got out of the car, and when the police arrived, he was actually standing outside of her car. And they told him to get down on the ground, and he didn't listen. He immediately went and got back into his vehicle, and he slammed the door. So the cop went over and opened his door, and he slammed the door again and then tried to drive off. And somehow he hit the cop's knee with his car when he was leaving the scene. That's the aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, was the vehicle. There's no gun or any knife or anything like that. So I was like, that's kind of, fun wording. So the stalking, the fleeing, and the eluding police. So he tried to run from the police, and he actually ended up wrecking his car. And he gets out of his car and then tries to flee on foot. And he actually did strike one of the cops that was trying to arrest him, is what the story says, which he's declining, or he's saying that he's innocent of. He didn't actually hit a cop. And then they said, like in the article I read, he was flexing and wouldn't let them handcuff him. So that was the other charge that they gave him, because he was resisting arrest or whatever.
I guess let the body cam footage do the talking.
Yeah, so I thought it was an interesting article, because when they came out and said it, like I was like, holy crap, what does this guy do? Is he a psycho, and stuff? And they hyped it up a little bit. So for clickbait, they got me. Over in the NHL, it's on hold right now for the Olympics until February 25th. Go Team USA. Most predictions have USA and Canada as the 2 teams to watch out for. I think they specifically put them in different brackets every year just because everybody
wants to see them
in the finals. But we'll see. But you never know. There's a lot of players from the NHL that are playing for other countries. Timo Meier and Jack Hughes had great games the other night. I'm not even going to speak on it for sure. But, there was already like Slovakia or something that won a game. it was one of the real low underdogs, in the brackets and stuff like that won a game, and they already beat like Finland or something. So there's already been an upset in the first just few games.
Right.
So we'll watch that. I'll have better, more accurate information next time we're on. As far as speaking of the Olympics, by the way, a Ukrainian man left after he wasn't allowed to wear his helmet, which was a tribute to 43 people that were killed by Russia. So they didn't exactly tell him that he couldn't wear it. They just kept asking him not to wear it. So he decided that he was not going to participate in the Olympics because they were asking him not to wear this helmet that was a tribute to people that had died in the war between Ukraine and Russia. So, Lindsey Vonn wrecked again. She's 41 years old or whatever it is. I think I mentioned this to somebody before. She probably should have hung it up by now and gave somebody else the opportunity, but what a way to go out. She wrecked in the prelims going into the Olympics. She tore her ACL, and this time she destroyed her leg. Like, she's had 3 surgeries since the crash already, trying to put her leg back together, and they've shown pictures of it, and it's got like a erector set freaking holding her leg in place and stuff like that, and she's in a hospital bed. She's going to pay for that for like the rest of her life, man. I mean, that's going to be painful. So, Finland's ski jump coach was sent home because of alcohol abuse. So that was one of the headlines from the Olympics.
Not good.
America is in 3rd overall in the medals. I checked this just before we recorded. They're behind Norway at number 1, and host country Italy is at number 2. And they're actually tied for medal count. Norway is only in number 1 because they have more golds. So moving on to soccer, I always like to find something to talk about with soccer. So Sean, I'm going to say Deitch, out of Nottingham Forest, is the 3rd coach that they've fired this season in the Premier League. So I don't think we're halfway through the season in the Premier League, and they've fired 3 coaches on this team already. So That's pretty impressive.
How long is the Premier League season?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Just like how we don't know how the leagues work anyway.
Sean listens to this every week. You could type in and give us some input or a quick little tidbit we could, type into the listeners segment, and then we could actually, mention you in Sportsball.
Or he can just point and laugh.
Yeah. He keeps telling me I don't know anything, and I keep proving him right. So, and then while I was searching for articles to talk about for Sportsball this week, I saw a community college bus carrying the school's baseball team crashed, and it overturned in a ditch in rural Iowa on Wednesday, authorities said, and 1 person died and 32 people were injured. So that's sad.
That's what you want to end with here?
Yeah, that's what I'm ending with.
Okay.
Yeah. Ending on a solemn note in Sportsball today.